Give it up for our producer who got music.
We're like, wow, fancy.
Hey, everyone. Happy Thursday. And welcome to another Tidbit Thursday.
And so today we are talking about common credit score myths. And so first we're going to talk about what is a credit score and why it is important.
Yeah. First, we need to give a shout out to Adrian.
Beep, boop, boop. Boop, boop.
Gotta love family.
Yes.
So credit scores and why they're important. So credit scores range between 300 and 850, and that's like your FICO score.
Mm-hmm.
Lenders use these credit scores as a snapshot of how you've managed your credit in the past, how you've paid your bills, and how well you're likely to pay your bills in the future. So they use this information to determine whether you're going to be approved for loans and including what types of rates you're going to get.
Yes. So let's get into the myths. Myth number 1. It takes 7 years to rebuild a low score. So most information stays on your report for about 7 years, but it can have less of an impact as it ages. So late payment stays on your credit score, but it will recede over time. Because payment history is the most significant factor in both the FICO and Vantage score models, but with the right strategy, it can take up to 2 years for a score to rebound after getting it back on track. However, it says 2 years, that's what we researched, but we know we work with lenders, and just depending where your score is at, it could be as little as a month.
Yeah, three to 6 months is usually what they'll tell people to bring their score up with certain
They
amount.
have some incredible strategies to make it. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. It just depends on what's impacting your score, and they just have cool ways of doing that.
That is. That's what they trained for.
Yes.
So myth number 2. It takes a while for a score to become low. And I know from personal experience, this is not true. So if your accounts are charged off or sent to collections, you could see a negative impact very fast. So avoid late and missed payments. Your accounts can be charged or sent to collections as little as 3 to 6 months. I know I had a credit card that I just inadvertently missed the payment 1 month. Yes. My credit score took a dramatic 30-point drop, right? Wow. As soon as they reported that it was more than 30 days delinquent. I paid it off, and it took me about 2 months to recover from that.
Yes. All right. Myth number 3. You only need to check your credit score if you're applying for credit. So I know a lot of people, will be like, because that's the first question we kind of ask. Do you know your credit score? Even with rentals. And a lot of people have this misconception that, well, I'm just renting. You need to know your credit score.
I feel more obligated to inquire about credit scores when people are renting, because it costs nothing to go to a lender and say, hey, do I qualify for a loan? But it can cost $75, $85, $100 to go and apply for a rental. And if I don't help protect you and your money,
yes,
I feel like I didn't do my job.
Yes.
So people do ask when you're applying for rentals, apartments or houses or condos, and they're like, hey, do you know what your credit score is? Promise, we're not trying to be nosy. We're trying to make sure that we match you up with the right groups and help save you money.
Yes. And also, depending where your score is at, that is going to determine your security deposit.
Yes.
So it's really important to know it. So monitoring your score helps you track progress when you're building credit, but it's important to check it the right way. You can get a free credit score once a year through, I think it's like creditreport.com. If you check it, you're able to spot anything that's happening that maybe you weren't aware of, fraud early. And so it's just good practice to do that once or twice a year. And and I know a lot of like Wells Fargo, Capital One. There's a few banks and credit card out there that has a credit score notifier. So that's another wonderful way to keep up with your credit score. So if you see your credit score 1 month in the 700s, and then the next month it drops to 680, you may want to
kind of look a little deeper.
You're like, yes.
What's going on? I know it made me, because we have one that's attached to our credit card, and I got a notification that had dropped 20 points. So I was like, oh, what happened? And it was just one of those, we had started minimizing our credit card payments, in order to save for Christmas. And so little things like that make an impact.
And that's one of the credit myths. So
I know, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And those free apps that you can get, like Credit Karma, they're a great temperature taking point, because you can just kind of quickly check on, but it's not an overall FICO score that, for example, lenders are going to use, our credit card companies are going to use when they're looking at your credit score. But it's a good thermometer checkpoint to do because they're very easy and user friendly.
Yes.
So myth number 4.
Cuatro.
Checking your credit score will hurt your score. So a notation called an inquiry goes on your credit report every time someone, including you, looks at your file. And rumor has it that inquiries can hurt your score. Well, this is kind of a mixed one. It's yes and no. An inquiry affects your score only if it's related to a credit application that you've submitted. So for credit cards, for mortgage lenders, for car loans, those type of things. I lost my place. Basically, the reason that it counts if a lender is looking or a credit card company is looking at it is because there's a chance that it looks like you're trying to open lots of credit. And you won't know for at least 30 days whether that credit was opened or not. But if you're simply looking at your own credit report through some of those apps we were talking about, it is not going to affect your credit at all. So if anything, checking your report is a sign of you being responsible about your credit management, and you don't get points deducted for doing that.
Awesome. Yes. All righty.
Good recovery, right?
Yes, you did a great job. All righty. Myth number 5. Closing a credit card will help your score. So this is something about what you were talking about. So credit cards, once you have a credit card open, it is important that you try to keep the card open. It's better for you to keep a credit card open because if you close it, that means that you are not using credit, because scores are they're factored by a credit utilization. So when you're using credit, it helps your score. But if you have too much of a balance, it hurts your score. So it is definitely a fine. It's a fine line that you have to walk. Okay, so if you have a credit card, yes, pay down the balance. However, you have to be using your credit to get that boosted. So you have to pay and use,
Yep.
So when you close it, it hurts your score. So what a lot of people will say is get your cards to a point where it's manageable, paid off, and then use that credit card to pay one item and pay it. And that helps boost your credit score. Okay. So
I just learned too that part of your FICO credit score is the longevity of your longest account. I didn't know that because I thought when I was younger, let me pay this off and close it. It still shows up.
Yes.
It shows up that you had that account. It's just not open anymore. And I got a below average because my longest credit card was only 5 years.
Oh.
I was like,
huh.
I guess because they look at my age. People in your age group.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang.
So yes, it's just so much to think about. But when you have a credit card, again, you want to keep it open if possible. There's a lot of, so Pete and I just did this. We had a credit card and they were charging us a yearly fee, but we didn't know that credit card company had a no fee credit. So one thing that we were recommended to do was go ahead, contact the credit card company and ask them to switch our card to the no fee. So now we have no fee. We can pay down our debt. And once we pay off a credit card, we can use that credit card to pay a bill that we pay every month anyway, pay it off, and that's going to help our credit score. So it's a lot of, but if you have a credit card and you can't help but using that credit card, then your best bet may be to close that that account. So
there is a little bit of know yourself here.
Yes.
If you are addicted to shopping at Ulta and you got to have the newest and latest lipstick and it's throwing you into debt, might want to rethink that life choice.
Yes.
Pay cash for that.
All righty. So now we're going to go into myth number 6.
So carrying a balance on my credit card boosts my credit score. This really is not 100% true. So carrying a balance on your credit card doesn't necessarily help your credit score. It has a potential to hurt it, and in the end can become expensive over time paying the interest. Not to mention having a continuous balance is a waste of money that you pay on interest to those companies. And if you can afford to pay off your credit card in full each month, there's couple things that happen. 1, you avoid paying extra interest. 2, it's showing that you're utilizing credit. 3, it's showing you're responsible in paying off your bills on time. So lingering balances on your account directly affect your credit card utilization rate. The higher your credit card balance, the higher your utilization rate. So it can hurt you in terms of credit score. Like we just recently found out, we went from paying big chunks at a time off every month on our credit to let's just pay minimum for a couple months. And all of a sudden my credit score dropped, and that was the only thing that changed. So
it's a lot.
there is a lot that goes into it.
So definitely you want to just watch this video a couple of times, reach out to us and say, what did you say about, and we can connect you with one of our lenders, because a lot of lenders, even though they're not credit repair, they know the ins and outs. Or we can connect you with a really good credit repair person that can give you great advice, because you want your score to be at a good healthy score, so that way when you're ready to do whatever you want to do, you can do it easily.
Buy a home, use a credit card, And did you know that they are now starting to have different credit score rates for purchasing different items? Like there is a kind of like a different way they analyze and come up with a car loan rate versus a mortgage rate. I thought that was really interesting. We'll have to do a little spin-off show on that one later.
Right. Add it to the list. All righty. Myth number 7. Paying debt is erased from your credit history. No. Okay. This is such an important one. Paying off a debt and you think you've eliminated your application, but the evidence of that debt can stick to your credit report for years. If you pay your debts on time and in full, you will likely want your paid off accounts on your credit report, because they show that you use your credit responsibly. If, on the other hand, you've been chronically late, missed payments, or defaulted, that's a problem. Most negative information remains on your report for up to 7 years. Some bankruptcies can stay there for up to 10 years. However, credit cards usually have higher interest rates than installment loans. I don't know why that's there, but I'm there. So now, with this one is really important, because we get a lot of people who come to us, they want to buy, and they cannot get an approval because they've paid late on an account or several accounts. I think the rule for some lenders is 3 or more. So that just happened to somebody that I knew, had a good credit score, good job. However, because he was late, he now has to wait 3 to 6 months for that to fall off and to buy. So it's really, really important for you to pay your bills on time, especially your credit cards. And
I was going to say, what we mean by fall off too is because it doesn't ever leave your report. Different lenders, including different credit card companies, they have what is called an overlay. And so some companies will look at 3 to 6 months worth of payments on time. Others will be a year or more. It just depends on that particular company and lender.
Yes. And so this particular that's why too, we always say talk to different lenders, because they have different rules that they go by, that overlay that you talked about. So one may say they can't have more than 3, and some may be like, well, we'll look at the whole picture. So, but pay your bills. And if you're having a hard time, contact your credit card company and see what you can do to pay less for a little bit until you can whatever. So there's different things that you can do.
They all will work with you.
Yes. All righty. So
the big thing to take away is to make sure that, like we've said multiple times, make sure you're paying off your debt on time. That's the big thing. If you can, make more than the minimum payment so you can pay it off more quickly and you avoid paying all those interest. Double check and look into your credit just to make sure you know what's going on. There's a lot of fraudulent activity, especially in this day and age of everything's electronic. You want to make sure that it's you who are making these inquiries and not somebody else. And if it's not you, make sure that you bring it up to the 3 main: TransUnion, Equifax, and the one that I always forget.
Experian.
Thank you. That way it will totally show up that, you're making an inquiry and that you're claiming that this is not you, and it kind of help protect you.
Yes. And so that is our Tidbit Thursday for this week. Next week, we actually know what we're doing next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about if it's good to sell or buy during the holidays. So I think this is very timely since we're heading into my favorite time of the year.
I know, right? And it's nice and cool today.
Yes.
It feels like fall.
And a lot of people are like, well, I think I'm going to wait. No, don't. And we'll tell you why next week.
Come back next week and find out why you should not wait.
Yes. So we'll see you next Thursday.
You guys have a great weekend. Stay warm and dry if you're in the San Antonio area. And we love you.
Bye.
Bye.